How you doing, folks? Vidal Super Ninja here, recording to you live from inside my Starship Voyager Toyota RAV4. Yes, I am inside my car. I am currently in the middle of road tripping this glorious country, checking out every game store, arcade, studio, convention, everything geek related you could imagine, trying to get content for this channel and others. So check out Instagram, check out Twitter for more details on that. But enough about today. We're going to focus a little bit on our past. We're going to shift our focus to, let's say, the early 2000s, late 90s. The lovely, controversial, one of my favorite video game consoles of all time, the Nintendo 64. Today we're continuing my top 30 Nintendo 64 game countdown. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Road Rash 64. This may not be the most polished or refined racing game out there. Shit, this may not even be one of the best Road Rash games. But where it lacks in polish, it makes up for tenfold in fun factor. It is a chaotic clusterfuck of a game. Unmerciful and over the top. Unapologetic in its silliness and brutality. It doesn't pull a single punch, and it knows exactly what it's supposed to do.
Oh God, my fucking knee! That's my knee!
Don't play this one alone. Multiplayer is where it's at. The game is well over 20 years old, and me and my friends still get together, crack open some cold ones, and relentlessly beat the shit out of each other.
You get violent up in this bitch. Yeah, how you change weapons, kid? Don't worry about it.
You don't gotta change weapons if you're not next to anybody.
Oh,
These motherfuckers are swinging. Robert keeps trying to mace everybody.
No, I need to go.
No game, intentionally or not, has made me laugh this hard. The physics, the sound effects, everything is so dumb and over the top. The combat alone is so fun that the racing is almost secondary. The game knows this and emphasizes its rubber band effects, turning it up to a degree that I've never seen in any video games. It keeps everybody in punching distance. You could almost feel it instigating you to fight. And me and my friends are more than happy to oblige this. Actual racing skills don't come into play until the finish line, which almost always comes down to a photo finish. And even then, it's more like survival of the fittest. It's like a big-ass wrestling match on wheels. If you're looking for simulation or realism, don't even waste your time here. But if you like fighting games, think motorcycles are cool, and want to beat the piss out of your friends, this game is for you.
You have the right to get shot by me.
Kirby 64. Kirby 64 had the dubious task of trying to get my attention during a time when my tastes leaned more towards edgy adult games. Competing with the likes of Metal Gear and Resident Evil, I almost deemed myself too old or mature to properly enjoy what Kirby 64 had to offer. Luckily, I was able to get over that shit and eventually succumb to its charms. I couldn't resist its adorable lure. I mean, just look at it. It's freaking adorable. Kirby 64 has got to go down as one of the most adorable games in existence. It leans into its innocence and simplicity wholeheartedly. The perfect game to tap into your inner child. I think I appreciate this game even more now as an adult than I did back then. It's pure, simple, innocent fun. And these days, that just feels like it's in short supply. You just can't ask for more. As expected, the plot and gameplay are as simple to follow as a child's fairy tale. Some dark, evil forces try to steal a power crystal from some fairies, the crystal being an extreme power source in this universe. During the initial skirmish, the crystal is shattered and spread across the galaxy. You, as Kirby, the ultimate battle-hardened warrior, must travel to these worlds and battle the forces of evil. There are 6 worlds to explore, each with their own unique themes and energy. As is the case with all Kirby games, the music soundtracks are top tier and fit the vibes perfectly. Cute, bubbly, and cuddly pop meet death metal and dark techno. Along the way, Kirby meets up with new friends and old rivals, teaming up to take on this new threat. King Dedede is playable, though he controls more like a Yoshi than he does his own character. A bit of a letdown. The gameplay is simple and easy, very beginner friendly. If you got a newcomer who's never tried games before, or maybe a girlfriend who just likes cute things, Kirby games are always a good place to start. You can't go wrong with a Kirby game, especially Kirby 64. Where the game really shines is with Kirby's copy abilities. As with all Kirby games, Kirby's power comes from devouring the souls of his enemies. Eating up all the enemies and absorbing their powers offers Kirby a wide array of different abilities and power-ups. And for the first time up to this point in a Kirby game, you could combine multiple power-ups to give Kirby entirely new abilities in combination. And there were a ton of these. Half the fun of the game is seeing what the combinations do. Seeing what kind of transformations Kirby will take. What kind of new powers will he unleash?
Muffin is a tabby, Buddy is a retriever, and Kirby is, well, Kirby is just Kirby.
Kirby's back with amazing new attack combinations in Kirby 64. Rated E.
One such combo, and probably my favorite, gets our young warrior feeling the Force and tap into his inner Jedi, wielding a Darth Maul-style dual-bladed lightsaber. And I swear this is like the coolest thing. This may not be considered one of the best Kirby games, but is certainly one of my favorites, and firmly holds its place on this list. Doom 64. Weirdly enough, I couldn't enjoy Doom 64 when it first came around. I don't know what it was, but it just didn't click with me back in 1997. Fast forward now, well over 20 years later, and not only do I think it's one of the best Doom games of that era, I'd argue it's one of the best first-person shooters ever made. I know that's a lot considering the vast variety of that genre. I could understand why anybody would argue to the contrary. But considering how good Doom was in the 90s, and seeing how Doom 64 improved on so many of its strengths and weaknesses, I don't think what I'm saying is so far-fetched. I must insist you give this one a shot if you're into classic boomer shooters. It's a massive game that gives you all the bang for your buck. A ton of levels, countless enemies, a crazy atmosphere and artistic flair. For all intensive purposes, this should have been called Doom 3. This is not just some simple spin-off. It improves on the first 2 Dooms in every way. I know that claim's gonna get a lot of shit, but hear me out. You gotta remember when the game dropped, and what the standards were in 1997. Play this again next to its contemporaries of the day and tell me I'm wrong. Like most Doom games, you start off in a techno-driven sci-fi setting. Starships, moon bases, space stations, and the like. Slowly but surely you find your way down, deeper and deeper through the fiery depths of hell. It's terrifying, but you are an absolute testosterone-filled space marine armed to the teeth. Doom Slayer, or Doom Guy. And your one function in this world is to kill everything. Set those sons of bitches back and make those demons think twice about ever rising again.
Good shot!
Pezzo, wonderful.
Mario Golf 64. I didn't have the slightest bit of interest in golf or golf video games before Mario Golf 64. But since then, I've been happy to open myself up to the sport. This game became the standard to which I measured all golf games going forward. And I've been lucky to play a lot of good ones.
Nice on.
It's pretty straightforward and there's little to the story or premise, but everything works here. Mario and his friends, along with a bunch of other randos created for the game, are here to play golf. And there's pretty much all there is to it. Much like Mario Kart or tennis or soccer, baseball, whatever have you, the Mushroom Kingdom characters lend itself well to this concept. The roster is pretty well stacked, and the playstyles are enough to cater to everybody. Unlocking the characters was hard as hell though, because the bots are freaking relentless. In order to unlock characters in the first place, you had to beat them in a 1v1 competition, and they were not gonna go easy on you. They really make you earn that shit. Couldn't tell you how many times I had a comfortable lead just to have the AI go Skynet on my ass and turn the game around. Like many Nintendo 64 games, this one is best enjoyed with friends. While I'll always love a competitive game, the soundtracks, the settings, the locations, every now and then I like a game that helps me chill out and relax, and that's exactly what this is.
Nice par.
Castlevania. Or Castlevania 64, which is what everyone calls it. This one is sort of a 2-for-1. Castlevania 64 and Legacy of Darkness are essentially the same game, but if this came out today, Legacy of Darkness would be considered a DLC expansion. A little more than a director's cut, but a lot less than a sequel. I know that this was not considered one of the more popular 2D to 3D transitions, but I love me some Castlevania, and this one here is no exception. Funny that most of my enjoyment of the game came from watching others play it. In a move that was becoming more rare by the late 90s, my mother bought Castlevania 64 for herself. A decision that surprised both me and my little brother. Yeah, she was always a gamer through the 80s and 90s. I have so many memories of her playing Mario, Pac-Man, Galaga, and a bunch of the classics. And one such set of memories includes the Castlevania trilogy for the original NES. This series brought my entire family together in its earliest days, so there is a major sentimental value I hold for Castlevania. Fast forward 2 video game console generations later, and my mom and brother are at it again with Castlevania 64. At this point, it almost feels like a family reunion or returning home to a familiar place. But as luck would have it, some of those places would happen to be located within the darkest depths of hell. Welcome to Wallachia. During the mid-1800s, darkness and death has overtaken the land. Misery and strife overwhelm this region. Think like the Bronx, but in medieval times. Hard times are made worse, as once again Dracula has resurrected from beyond, appearing once a century as an unnatural force of nature. And as with previous generations, brave souls led by the warrior Belmont clan face off and take on this growing threat to humanity. A classic battle of good versus evil, an endless war between God's children and the devil's acolytes. The game allows you to choose between 4 heroes, each with their own distinct abilities, powers, and playstyles. Seeing this game through 100% means beating it with all 4 of them. Multiple playthroughs will fill in the blanks and complete the story. First up is Reinhard Schneider. The descendant of the Belmont clan, he wields the legendary Vampire Killer Whip. He's also carrying a sword for close-up melee attacks. And as the case with most of these games, you can arm him with secondary projectile weapons. Throwing knives, axes, holy water, and crosses round out his arsenal. Reinhard is here on behalf of the Belmonts to fulfill his cursed bloodline's destiny of hunting down Lord Dracula and putting an end to the madness.
Courage. Don't leave me.
Carrie Fernandez, a young but powerful witch and descendant of Sypha Belnadas from Castlevania 3. She is here on a quest for vengeance. Her abilities include the power to project magic energy blast, and wields bladed combat rings for close-range melee attacks. Cornell, a Lycan warrior with the power to transform into a werewolf. He's here to rescue his sister who's been captured by demons, who intend to sacrifice her for Dracula. An expert in the martial arts. I always thought his wolf transformation was pretty cool, as was his ability to fire off energy blades. Last, we have Henry Oldry, who we first meet as a child in need of rescue during Cornell's campaign. He returns to these lands 10 years later as an adult, fully trained as a badass warrior knight, donning full armor and packing some serious heat. Henry's one of the few Castlevania characters equipped with a gun, and he's blasting the shit out of everything in sight.
My gun? Anyway, I started blasting. Bang! Bang!
These 4 heroes battle through nightmares and perils. Puzzles and threats that'll challenge their skills and your patience. None greater than wonky 3D camera controls and long platforming segments. Patience is a must here, as you will die a lot. Those early 3D platformers were fucking rough, and this is no exception. Castlevania is relentless. And while I do enjoy adventuring through its perilous halls, I preferred to watch my brother or mother take a crack at it. The ambiance, the atmosphere, somehow beautiful and haunting at the same time. The music, though not as refined, bombastic, or as memorable as some of the other Castlevania games, does an excellent job of conveying the loneliness and grief brought on by Dracula and his evil, setting the tone for a lone warrior battling through the horrors of Castlevania. Is this a perfect game? No, not by any stretch. Critics have been harsh to this one over the years, but none of that has ever mattered to me. I'm not trying to put this one toe-to-toe against the likes of Castlevania Symphony of the Night or Super Castlevania 4. This is its own experience that I believe every true Castlevania fan should try at least once. Nothing can take away the experiences I had with this one and my family, and for that it will always keep a space here among my very favorite Nintendo 64 games of all time. So there you have it, folks. Another 5 Nintendo 64 games in the can. We got 20 more of these to go, and they're only going to get better from here, so make sure you come back to see what I got cooking down the road. In the meantime, stay classy, stay cool, and of course, be excellent to each other. This is Vidal Super Ninja, signing out.